As the Switch enters its 4th year on sale, we begin to ponder what gaming delights 2020 might bring. While publishers obviously try to space out their releases across the full 12 months, there's no escaping the fact that the most commercially fertile time of year is the holiday season. And if you look back at the Switch's history, we've traditionally seen some major games launch around this time. In 2017, we got Super Mario Odyssey and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, while in 2018, we were given Pokemon Let's Go and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Last year, it was the turn of Pokemon Sword and Shield, with Luigi's Mansion 3 picking up some of the slack. But what does Christmas 2020 have in store? At this moment, we don't actually have any confirmed first-party releases for that period. Given how little we've seen of this game so far, it might not seem very likely that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 will be in our hands by the time Santa arrives later this year. But let's not forget that it's likely to use the same game engine as the illustrious original, thereby cutting down development time, and we'd imagine that production began pretty soon after the first game launched at the start of 2017. Nintendo could well be holding its cards close to its chest, and we'll get a massive helping of Zelda info at E3 2020, as well as a Christmas release date. But that seems rather optimistic, given the paucity of solid information we've had thus far. Breath of the Wild 2 would be the perfect game to spearhead Switch's Christmas charge, and, one could argue, the ideal weapon to counter the next-gen console war which begins this year with the arrival of the PS5 and Xbox Series X. If Nintendo wants to convince people to stick with Switch, then rolling out what many will feel is its biggest gun isn't a bad idea. If you're enjoying the video, consider liking or subscribing. It really supports the channel and lets me know you're enjoying this type of content. Let's try to get 20 likes on this video, and let me know which game you're most excited for, whether it's for the Switch or for the upcoming next-gen consoles, the PS5 or Xbox Series X. Again, the lack of any solid information on this highly anticipated sequel seems to rule out a 2020 release, but Bayonetta 3 is arguably long overdue. It was announced way back in 2017. We've been told that Platinum Games has some big news for early this year, and let's not forget that Platinum Games and Nintendo announced Astral Chain in February 2019 and released it in August of the same year. Given the short space of time between those two events, it doesn't seem too extreme to expect our favorite Umbra Witch to take a bow before the close of the year. While Pikmin is perhaps in a slightly lower league when compared to Nintendo's other big hitting franchises, it has plenty of fans and could certainly fill the gap if Switch is struggling for a decent Christmas hit. Or, it could be the perfect companion release to the year's biggest title. The recent news that the Pikmin 3 website has been taken offline has spurred some fans into speculating that we could see the Wii U game get ported to Switch. Given the quality of that particular outing, it would be a good idea for it to reach a larger audience. But I think many will be holding out for an all-new entry. Even if Pikmin 3 does get re-released in 2020, I'm not sure it would be the game to face off against the PS5 and Xbox Series X this festive season. It might be a matter of when, not if. But could we see the sequel to Super Mario Odyssey hit the Switch in 2020? There wasn't a massive amount of time between the first look at the original and its Christmas 2017 launch, so who knows? Perhaps Nintendo will lift the lid on this sooner rather than later and get us all excited for a holiday season release. I certainly can't think of any game better suited to shifting consoles, outside of Breath of the Wild 2, but you could argue that that game lacks Mario's broad commercial appeal. Breath of the Wild has sold almost 1 million fewer copies than Super Mario Odyssey, despite being available for almost a year longer. Out of all the titles on this list, Metroid Prime 4 is perhaps the most outlandish. The project has endured a troubled development period, with Retro Studios being drafted in to pick up the pieces when development was restarted last year. With that in mind, we're very unlikely to see Samus Aran make it to the market in time for Christmas. Although, we'd imagine that Nintendo might show something of the game at this year's E3 event. Speaking of which, the same sources also said that we're getting a new Paper Mario game in 2020. This title will apparently go back to the roots of the series, presumably using the excellent Thousand Year Door as an inspiration, and we could see the franchise return to its glory days. However, the series has never been a system seller in the way that Mario's mainline adventures have, so even if this is true, I'd be amazed if this was Nintendo's big release for Christmas. Like Pikmin, we'd see this in a supporting role more than anything else. Game Freak has been fixed in a yearly release pattern since 2016's Pokemon Sun and Moon on the 3DS. In 2017, we had Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, while 2018 gave us the aforementioned Pokemon Let's Go. Last year, it was the turn of Pokemon Sword and Shield. So it would be a safe bet to assume we'll be getting another installment this Christmas, right? Well, the news that Sword and Shield is being supported by DLC means that an Ultra version is highly unlikely, unless, of course, Nintendo decides to bundle the two expansions as a new physical release. However, that doesn't mean that Game Freak isn't working on another remake similar to Leaf Green and Fire Red, or Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Diamond and Pearl would be the most obvious candidates, but is it really a good idea for Game Freak to stick to the yearly release pattern? No. Like I said before, Game Freak should slow things down and instead focus on making its mainline release as good as they can be. Don't give us a half-finished game like Sword and Shield, then sell us the rest of it as an expansion later. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you'll never miss another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye!